The church bells tolled softly in the distance, their song echoing down cobblestone streets dusted with early autumn leaves. Outside St. Augustine's Cathedral, nestled in the lush countryside of New Haven, luxury cars lined the narrow road. Paparazzi stood back, blocked by heavy security, their long-lens cameras waiting to catch just one glimpse of the bride, the groom, or the wedding party as they arrived. Inside the ancient stone cathedral, the atmosphere was reverent, heavy with anticipation. Gold-trimmed programs rested neatly on every velvet-padded pew. White orchids, custom flown from Kyoto, climbed up marble columns like frozen vines. The stained glass windows threw a spectrum of colors across the polished marble floor. The air smelled of flowers, candle wax, and just a hint of expensive perfume. At the very front of the altar stood Nicholas Vance. 30-6, billionaire by 30, founder of VanceTech, the company that had changed the way the world saw data and security. People called him everything: genius, recluse, visionary, enigma. But to those who knew him well, few as they were, he was just Nick, a man who had known great triumph and great loss. He looked stunning in his custom tuxedo black, with a dark emerald lining visible only when he moved. His cufflinks bore the Vance family crest, and his teepee had once belonged to his grandfather. But even dressed to perfection, something about him didn't sit still. His fingers tapped anxiously against his palm. His jaw clenched and released, clenched again. "Breathe, man," whispered Mark, his best friend since college and best man for the day. "You've climbed Everest. You've shut down to corporate espionage rings. But you're afraid of your own wedding." Nicholas offered a quick smile. "It's not the wedding. It's the fact that it's real." Mark raised a brow. "What? Love, love," Nicholas repeated. "She's the only person who's ever made me forget the rest of the world. That terrifies me," Mark chuckled. "Then it's probably real." The organist began to play. Everyone stood. The back doors opened, and there she was. Isabella Devereux, the woman who'd stolen Nicholas Vance's guarded heart. She floated down the aisle like a vision, her long veil trailing behind her like a breath of silk. Her gown was simple, but stunning, creamy satin hugging her form, delicate lace wrapping her shoulders. Her long brunette hair was pinned in a loose chignon, and her honey-colored eyes held the kind of emotion no designer could manufacture. Each step she took toward him brought tears to the corners of Nicholas's eyes. How had he gotten so lucky? The guests, socialites, CEOs, dignitaries, and childhood friends stood in complete silence, eyes fixed on the pair fate had brought together. And then, from nowhere, came a whisper, small, soft, but piercing. "Your bride has a secret tattoo." The words came from a boy, barely 6, blonde curls, blue jacket, standing near the aisle between rows 3 and 4. He had slipped from his mother's grasp to get closer. Nicholas didn't react at first, not truly. He blinked once, twice. His brain tried to register what he'd heard. He turned his head slowly to the boy. "What did you say?" The boy tilted his head. He repeated it without hesitation. "Your bride has a secret tattoo, a rose, with a name." Nicholas's face stiffened. Mark whispered urgently, "Ignore him. Some kid, what does he know?" But Nicholas had already turned his gaze back to Isabella, who had stopped walking. Her expression flickered. She tried to smile, to recover, but her lips trembled. Nicholas stepped forward. 1, 2 steps. "Bella," he said gently. "Do you have a tattoo?" Her breath caught. "Nick, it's nothing. I was young. It doesn't mean anything, but..." His eyes narrowed. "What is it?" She hesitated. "A rose," she whispered. "And a name." Her voice shrank to a breath. "Yes. What name?" She looked at him with wide, teary eyes. "Liam," the room gasped. A woman in the 4th row dropped her program. Nicholas's world turned inside out. Liam Walker. His best friend. His brother in everything but blood. The man who died 5 years ago, a suspicious crash that had never sat right with Nicholas. He turned back to the boy. "Who are you?" "I'm Sam," the boy replied. He was still calm. Oddly so. Sam who? Sam Walker. The room fell into chaos. Whispers. Gasps. A few people stood. A man knocked over a floral arrangement. As he stumbled back, Nicholas's face went blank, then pale. He looked back at Isabella, who now held her bouquet tightly to her chest, as if it could shield her from the judgment. Is he Liam's? Nicholas asked. Her face crumbled. Yes. You lied to me. I didn't know how to tell you. You told me you'd never met him. I hadn't when we first met. No, but I lied later. Nick. I wanted a future. I didn't know he had been your friend. I didn't know until I already loved you. The boy Sam walked toward Isabella, tugging on her dress. She instinctively dropped to her knees and held him close, shielding him. He asked about his father. She sobbed. I tried to protect him. I never wanted this secret to come out like this. Nicholas stared at them, hollow. The woman he loved, the child who was the son of his dead best friend, and a name inked onto the skin that was about to become his forever. The priest tried to intervene. Mr. Vance, shall we or no? Nicholas said, his voice raw. There won't be a wedding today. He walked out. Rain began to fall as he reached the grand doors, but he didn't stop. Not when the photographer snapped photos of his soaked tuxedo. Not when the news vans rolled in. Not when Mark ran after him, calling his name. He kept walking. Through the gates, down the hill, away. He didn't stop until he reached the old stone bridge that crossed the nearby creek. He leaned against it, staring into the rushing water below. Liam. His friend, his brother, his ghost, and Isabella. The woman who had kissed him. She'd never kissed anyone before, who had whispered, I love you under moonlight, who had carried a child. Not his, but Liam's. Everything was shattered. 3 weeks passed. Nicholas disappeared from the public eye. He cancelled his meetings, refused to answer calls, stayed in a secluded estate deep in the Vermont mountains. Until, one rainy night, a car pulled up the long gravel driveway, and Isabella stepped out, holding Sam's hand. They stood under the covered porch until Nicholas opened the door. He looked thinner, sadder, but not angry. Isabella spoke first. I didn't come to explain. You already know the truth. He nodded. I came because Sam deserves to know where he came from, and because I still love you. Nicholas looked at the boy. Do you remember your father? Sam shook his head. Only stories. Nicholas knelt down. He was brave and funny, and once saved me from drowning in the lake when we were your age. The boy smiled. Nicholas turned to Isabella. You should have told me. I was afraid you'd hate me. He exhaled. I did, for a moment, but hate fades, and love doesn't. She trembled. Then what do we do now? He looked at the boy again. Then at her. We start over, slowly. No secrets this time. And so they did, not in chapels. Not with flowers, not with photographers, but in early morning breakfasts, quiet walks, and bedtime stories that Nicholas learned to tell. Eventually, love returned, not rushed, not demanded, but real. And one day, long after the world had forgotten the ruined wedding, a little boy with golden curls stood on a hill holding a small bouquet. As his mother, dressed in simple white, took the hand of the man who had forgiven, healed, and loved again. And this time, there were no secrets left, only truth, only peace, only love.